All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over one of the articles that I wrote. I'm going to try to start out like this, and then we'll see where it goes. All right, so I'm going to go through the article. You can read it. The link will be in the video description below. And but well, let's just go through it real quick. All right, the article is titled "Thai Protesters Host U.S.-Funded Uyghur Separatists." And look, the U.S. is attacking China in many different places. So we know that they were funding the agitators in Hong Kong. We know that. Back in the 50s, the CIA was funding and arming Tibetan rebels to fight against China. They lost. And they've been stirring up trouble in Xinjiang, which is China's western region, for quite a while. And they're using a group called the Uyghurs. They're a Muslim minority ethnic group in Xinjiang. Now, these most Uyghurs are actually they're just normal people who live and work side by side with everyone else in China, but there's a small number of them who are extremists, and their separatism is openly encouraged by the U.S. For example, National Endowment for Democracy, which funds many of these Uyghur groups, lists its funding disclosure for Xinjiang as Xinjiang slash East Turkestan. East Turkestan is a fictitious entity that the violent separatists want to transform Xinjiang into. It's not recognized by the United Nations. That region is recognized by the UN as Xinjiang and as part of China. As a matter of fact, the only thing that the UN recognizes in terms of East Turkestan is the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, which is recognized by the UN as a terrorist organization. So this is what the US is up to in Xinjiang, China. And now they've got this woman named Louisa Grieve coming to Thailand. She's a member of the Uyghur Human Rights Program based in Washington, D.C., and funded by the US NED. And she's going to sit there and talk about the Uyghurs in China and how the US-funded agitators in Thailand can help the Uyghurs. So what this is about is the US is not only funding agitators in Thailand to overthrow the Thai government, to disrupt Thai-Chinese relations. It's also about recruiting these activists, these agitators, these protesters into a regional front to use against China directly. So, and if you've been following the protests in Thailand, you'll notice how they went from like anti-Thai government to like now they're anti-China also, which is like just like in Hong Kong. In the beginning, they tried to deny everything. Oh, we're not funded by the U.S. Oh, we're just against this one bill. Then their demands started to expand. Then it was like openly anti-Chinese and openly U.S. funded. And this is the exact same thing is going on in Thailand. So anyway, scroll down through the article. You're going to see a picture from one of the recent protests here in Thailand where they actually were flying one of the Uyghur separatist flags. It's light blue, has a white crescent, a white star on it. And they were flying this flag at an intersection in Bangkok where Uyghur terrorists actually bombed and killed 20 people. Unreal. And the Western media knows this because it was international headlines in 2015 when this bombing took place. They knew it was Uyghur terrorists who did it, and they know that that flag is the Uyghur terrorist flag, and yet they said nothing about this. They just said, oh, look, Milk Tea Alliance. The united front that the U.S. is creating against China is called the Milk Tea Alliance. That's what the protesters themselves are calling it. And they said, oh, look, all the flags of the Milk Tea Alliance are there. So I guess the Milk Tea Alliance also includes terrorists who bombed downtown Bangkok and killed 20 innocent people. Also in the article is a BBC story, because that, I'm not going to cite Chinese state media. People that read Chinese state media probably don't need me to tell them any of this. Instead, I'm citing the BBC, which gave like a very long and extensive list of Uyghur terrorist attacks back in 2014. They don't talk much about that now because they're trying to make it look like China is being very unreasonable to, detain groups of Uyghurs who are extremists. But if you go back to older BBC articles, they will report all the horrific violence that these Uyghur terrorists were carrying out. So of course China is going to detain them, and they're going to detain people who support them. Why? They're terrorists. Why wouldn't you do this? The article also, my article also cites Voice of America, which is U.S. State Department funded media. It's an article about how these Uyghur extremists are not just, killing people in China and Thailand. They're also going to Syria to fight alongside Al Qaeda and the Islamic State and Jabhat al-Nusra and the what is this? The Turkestan, yeah, the Turkestan Islamic Party, and they're fighting in Syria. They're getting all these skills and experience, and then they're going to go back to Xinjiang to kill more people. So this is a huge concern for China. That's why China has facilities. This is why they're trying to deprogram extremists and turn them into productive members of society so they can join the vast majority of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang who are not a problem and who China is not persecuting. So that's what this article is about. So, give it a read. It's important to understand that the so-called pro-democracy protests in Thailand are not pro-democracy. They are just anti-Chinese, and democracy is the smokescreen the U.S. government is hiding it behind. Um, and something that Thai protesters who don't believe me, they need to just ask themselves, they can see with their own eyes the growing anti-China sentiment that's in these protests and that the leaders themselves are displaying. They have to ask themselves that if they're concerned about the Thai economy, why are the Thai protesters attacking Thailand's biggest trade partner, biggest investor, biggest source of tourism? Why are they doing that? Because if you care about the economy of Thailand, you're not going to attack your most important economic partner. Okay? You're going to see what you can do to build better ties with them. So there's obviously something more behind these protests and meets the eye. Protesters need to start looking into it. They don't want to believe me. Just use your critical thinking. Read the article. Check out the links in the video description below. Please like and share my videos if you think they're good. If you think they're terrible, give me some constructive feedback. I'm new at this, and thank you for watching.